I'm Taylah, I'm 19 years old and I've been a cast member with A Taste of Ireland for nearly 2.5 years. So I started Irish dancing at the age of 6 here in Adelaide, courtesy of my brother and my nan, who made me want to get into it in the first place. And initially I did it just as a bit of fun and to have something to do for a hobby. I really enjoyed it, so I started doing competitions, and then I found out that I really enjoyed it, so I got a new dress and I competed at my first state championships in 2008 and I placed 3rd. The following year I then competed at my first national championships in 2009 and I placed 22nd. I think my parents were thinking at the time like, whoa, this is a whole new world and a very expensive new world at that. So then I moved to a new dancing school, which I still dance for now, the Miller School. And I continued to practice and eventually I got better, and then I cracked the top 10 at the Nationals, which had been a dream of mine for so long. I was absolutely over the moon. So then I set a goal of cracking the top 5. And I did this in 2016 and I placed 3rd, which I was like crying, and I was so happy. It was amazing. Meanwhile, I just won my 3rd state championships and I literally felt like I was living a dream. I think once you know the feeling of like placing on the podium at the Nationals, you just want it to keep happening again and again. So at the Nationals in 2017, my all-time dream came true and I was crowned the 2017 Australian National Champion, which was incredible. And so at the start of the week before my dance day, A Taste of Ireland were holding auditions. So I did audition. Apart from the Christmas concert that we always did at the end of year with my dancing school, I'd never really performed on stage apart from competing. So I was very nervous and I didn't really know what to expect. So I got a message from Brent, who is the director of the show, and he messaged me saying that he needed another girl for his Christmas tour in December of that year. So a couple weeks later, I literally packed my bags and I went on my first tour. I was so nervous. So we rehearsed for 5 days prior to the 5 shows we had, and oh my goodness, I've never had such sore legs in my life. It was mad. It was quite stressful because we had to put together a whole show in 5 days. That was intense, but we got there and we did it. I think it was like the day before our first show, I got these 2 huge blisters on my feet and I decided to pop them because I thought that was a great idea. Obviously I had to keep dancing on them so they didn't have time to heal, so they got infected and I have never been in so much pain in my life. I remember one night Kaylee poured vodka on my heels after the show and I think I nearly passed out from the pain. I think our last show was like the day before Christmas Eve and I think I slept through like that whole Christmas that year because I was just so tired because it was such an intense 10 days, but so worth it. So then the following year I got asked on the St. Patrick's Day tour, which was in March, for 3 weeks. And that was so much fun. I got to meet a whole bunch of new people and a part of it was actually around South Australia, so I got to perform for my mum and dad and my nan and like all my family, so that was awesome. So throughout that year I continued to still compete with my dancing and I was loving that as well. Then in June I got asked to do a one-off show in Darwin. So I did that, and then in September we had a small tour in Tasmania. I think it was 4 shows, and for the September tour I was lucky enough to be picked to play the role of the Temptress in that show. And then the following year, which was last year, so 2019, I got asked to be a part of A Taste of Ireland's biggest tour to date, which was 6 months travelling around Australia, and then we had 2 weeks off, and then we did a whole month around New Zealand, which was amazing because it was the first time I'd travelled to a different country with a show. It was obviously a huge decision to make whether I was going to do the 6-month tour because I was also focusing on my competitive dancing, so I had to make the decision of whether I was going to keep doing that or if I was going to stop doing that. But I ended up continuing that, so I trained for the 6 months while we were touring. The reason I wanted to keep competing was because the following year I was going to be going to the World Championships, and I had to still do a qualifier at my states to be able to go. So I had to fly home during the tour and compete at my states, and I was lucky enough to win my state, so I qualified for the Worlds the following year. While we were on the 6-month tour, we got the opportunity to audition for the principal role in the show, so for the lead girl, and I was so excited to do this because it's something that I had always wanted to kind of try out and just to see how I would go. So I ended up doing the auditions for that and was lucky enough to be picked as the lead girl understudy. So I ended up performing lead for some shows around Australia and New Zealand, and that was so amazing. It's so crazy to think that I've basically travelled all around Australia with people that have become some of my best friends and performing with them in shows almost every night for 6 months. So that was a pretty crazy dream come true for me, I think. I think if someone had told me in 2017 that 2 years later I'd be travelling around the world performing in a professional Irish dance show, that I don't think I'd believe it for a second, but here we are. And then at the start of this year, in 2020, I got to dance with A Taste of Ireland at the APAP conference in New York City, which was unreal. I can't believe I'm able to say that. We danced in New York City for 2 performances. Being able to say that I've travelled to New York City with a show is pretty cool. So A Taste of Ireland has taken me all over the world. I think one of my favourite memories from the tour last year would be performing lead for Christchurch in New Zealand. That was absolutely surreal. The crowd was amazing and I literally had goosebumps when I performed on stage. Dancing in a show wasn't necessarily something I've always wanted to do. I know there's a lot of people that say it's like one of their dreams and they've always wanted to do it, but when I was younger, I think my mum asked me and she was like, do you ever see yourself dancing in a professional show? And I was like, nope, never. But now I couldn't imagine not doing professional shows and still competing as well. So this has been my journey to the stage.